Video that I wanted to make about, well, a few days ago, but obviously I've been offline for a while and made a note to do a video on it now. Post-fight, Robert Helenius versus, I'm sure I pronounced this wrong, Andras Csomor. Now, the reason I'm doing this video, Robert Helenius, the fight isn't necessarily worth talking about itself. What's potentially worth talking about more is the return of Robert Helenius. I'll come on to that in just a second. But first, let me talk about the actual fight itself. So, Robert Helenius, as I say, fought a chap called Andras Csomor. The guy came to the ring with a record of, I believe it was 11 wins, 4 losses. He'd been stopped a few times previously, which didn't bode particularly well. But the first thing that was noticeable was the size difference. Now, I mean that in height, but not only in height. I mean, we know Helenius is a giant. I think he stands 6'6", 6'7". So we're talking a guy who's got a similar height to Vladimir Klitschko, maybe a bit smaller than Tyson Fury, but a real giant of the heavyweight division. He looked absolutely monstrous compared to his opponent. His opponent, to be honest, looked like a light heavyweight in there. I was going to say he looked like a cruiserweight compared to Robert Helenius, but I think that's being generous. He looked like a light heavyweight. To be fair to his opponent, obviously he was very, very overmatched. He got knocked down once in about the first minute of the fight and then got stopped on his feet about 30 seconds later. But his opponent did come with some ambition. He was looking to get on the inside. He was looking to get inside of Helenius' jab and try and throw power punches, but he never came close to landing on Robert Helenius. Helenius looked like he'd stayed in reasonable shape. He didn't look like he'd piled on the pounds having been out of the ring, and he just looked pretty massive compared to this guy. Helenius was too quick for him, too powerful, was able to land with the jab, was able to land with a front hand hook, and really every time he threw a punch it looked like the fight was going to be over. Now, as I say, what's significant about this fight is not the result, it's not the fight itself, it's that Robert Helenius is back, it's that Robert Helenius is looking in adequate condition. Let's face it, he's 31, he's still very young for a heavyweight. He's 20-0 with 12 by knockout, so he's an unbeaten heavyweight. BoxRec have got him ranked at 34, but let's not forget that this is a guy who was ranked very, very highly before a period of inactivity. I understand he's had a promotional dispute with his promoter Sauerland, and obviously he's looking to get back active now. So at 31, unbeaten, there's scope for Helenius to, make some waves. And he's a guy who was rated highly, as I say, amongst the governing bodies, BoxRec, I think Boxing News magazine had him rated 3 or 4. And he does have certain attributes, he's well schooled, he's tall, he carries a bit of power, he can whack a bit, The question is, what is his upside? Now, for me, I remember watching the Helenius-Michael Sprott fight, and in that fight he looked 10 times worse than Anthony Joshua did when he fought Michael Sprott. If you compare and contrast those two performances, Anthony Joshua looked like a much more devastating operator, a bigger puncher, faster hands, more aggressive combinations. Similarly, if we look at his performance against Derek Chisora and compare and contrast that with Tyson Fury's recent performance against Derek Chisora, Helenius doesn't come out of that too well. Chisora pushed Helenius all the way. A lot of people think he won that fight, whereas Tyson Fury was able to keep him at range, not let him get inside of the jab and completely shut him down. I guess my point is that 2 or 3 years ago, when Helenius was fighting the likes of Chisora, when he was fighting the likes of Michael Sprott, Sergei Lykovitz, I think the heavyweight division was a slightly different scene. You've now got guys like Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. You've got these guys who are now coming towards the top of the heavyweight division, maybe less so for Joshua, certainly Wilder, certainly Fury. My point is that the fact that Helenius is really, really tall, the fact that he hits quite hard, isn't as standout in the current scene as it was 2 or 3 years ago. And now we've got guys like Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder coming towards the top. Helenius actually doesn't look that dynamic. He doesn't look that powerful. I mean, look at the way Deontay Wilder took care of business compared to Helenius against Serhiy Kovacs, Joshua and Sprott, Tyson Fury and Chisora. The list goes on. So, how relevant is Helenius' return? We shall see. He's 31 years old, he's unbeaten, there is scope for him to be a player, and he's a difficult fight for anyone. But I don't think he poses as much of a threat as he did 2 or 3 years ago. The inactivity cannot have helped. The ring rust must be there, and even despite blowing this opponent out, the fact that it only took 60 seconds may not be a good thing. It may have been good if he'd had the opportunity to get a few minutes under his belt. Let me know your thoughts on Robert Helenius. Did you watch this fight? Were you impressed? And do you think he's got scope to be a relevant top 10 heavyweight in the division currently? Thanks for watching.